Good day everyone and welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be discussing One Piece chapter 1030 titled Echoing the Impermanence of All Things. Interesting title, but before we begin, of course, spoiler warning. And yeah, let's dive straight into the chapter. So first things first, this week's chapter is another request for a cover page, and it is essentially Brook with an army of ants marching towards something and they're going over his feet. So there's that. Um, but yeah, so let's dive straight into the first page now, and it's a double spread. There's a lot of those in this chapter, but essentially the first two pages, or the first double page that is we see Drake and Appoos. So everybody was wondering what happened to them, because the last we saw was, I think, Drake had Appoos in his jaws while he was in his dino form. So here we are, we see they're in the cave chamber in the Skull Dome, and it's interesting because we see them having a conversation, and it's basically Appoos saying, well, Drake, I'm guessing you're a spy, and since you're a spy, how about we work together? Because it doesn't matter if you're a spy, it doesn't matter what I do, let's work together as a team and win this, take this battle as our win. And he says the reason we could do that is no matter who wins, at the end of this battle, the winner is going to be very weak from this long fight. And thus, me and you, Drake and Appoos, should team up and take down Kaido if that is Kaido. And we think it's just the two of them. He's making this conversation with, me, you. But then we get a zoomed out shot. And this panel has three of the numbers, and they're laughing, of course, and this seems to be the last three numbers that we didn't get yet, and their names are, let me make sure I say it properly, Inibi, Fuga, and Zanki. And they have some cool designs. The one in the middle looks a bit like Ashura Doji with horns. The one on the left looks kinda similar to remember when we got Yamato's flashback, there were some samurai in the cave with her. So the one on the left with the straight horns looks a bit like one of them, and then there's the one with the swirly mustache. He looks like one of them as well, but he looks the most normal out of them. Like, he looks like properly human, with the minor being the ears and the horns, of course, but he looks the most normal out of all the numbers we've seen, aside from Hachacha, number 8. So yeah, and basically this leads to Appoos again saying, we aren't aligned with anyone. Why would we fight each other? Because he's telling that to Drake, being Drake is not aligned with anyone. So things are coming together. Maybe that means Drake and Appoos will head to where Kaido is and help Luffy. I don't know, but we'll see. But Drake says he's heard enough, and what makes Appoos think that I would work with you? You're a traitor, basically. And Appoos' response to this is just like, let's not speak about these things. You'll never have an opportunity like this again to arise. So that's interesting. We then cut away to what I think is the downfall of this chapter. But essentially we see the layout of the floors, and we see Tama, Usopp, Nami, and Komachi being carried by someone, of course. They're all making their way away from the fire. And while doing this, they encounter a monster, because the soldiers are screaming it's a leg monster, and they see it, and the legs are speaking, and essentially this is a callback to Punk Hazard when Law cut Kinemon in half. The same thing here. His lower half is speaking and he's running, and Usopp tries to stop him to speak to him, but of course, he can't hear. His butt doesn't have ears. So this leads to Nami coming up with the idea that maybe we can tell him who we are by drawing the crescent moon symbol on his legs. So they do that, and he realizes it's an ally, and he delivers the message to the team, and he says essentially, my friend is badly hurt, she's bleeding out. If you go to the first floor, if you look at the ladder going up into the crawl space, come up there, help us, we need help. And we see essentially that Kiku is on the ground, still barely alive, breathing, bleeding out. And then we get Kinemon saying that, when Law put him back together after the first time he cut him, he probably didn't do it well enough, and that's why he separated again when Kaido stabbed him, because we see the sword still between where his legs and his upper half should be. Of course, he's bleeding plenty. And I think this takes away from the chapter, because how many times are we going to kill off someone and then have them show back up by some miracle to just make an appearance? I thought that was a perfect end for Kinemon. He should have died with that attack instead of them doing the whole Law thing, because we've never seen that happen before either. But I mean, I think that takes away from it. That's just my opinion, but yeah. He also says that Kanjuro should be dead, but he begins hearing Kanjuro speaking. And who is it? None other than the headless Orochi, as he says. And Kanjuro and Orochi are speaking on the mini Denden Mushi snails. And the conversation is essentially Orochi praising Kanjuro for what he did, and he's asking him, if you hear the crowd cheering for you, you did a good job. You sound like you're dying, of course, but good job, we're proud of you. And he says, if you're going to die, then go out with essentially a big ending. And he tells him to let the Kurozumi's hate and rage burn through everything and everyone. And essentially the point of this is Kanjuro is still alive again, and we get him doing his last, I quote last because everyone is doing a last move and still alive, which kinda defeats the idea of death in One Piece. Anyway, Kanjuro summons a big fire demon that seems to be kind of ghost-like, because they say it's passing through the walls like a ghost, but everything it touches turns to fire, begins to burn. And this spirit kind of looks like, if you remember when we first got introduced to Kanjuro, he looked like an inky blob. It looks kind of like that. But the name of it seems to be Kazenbu. We then see, or cut to Onigashima, and we see Momo outside making small clouds, but he says he's trying, and he's basically making small clouds and stacking them on top of each other, because that's the best he could do. You then get a quick glimpse at the flower capital, and the castle is a sea of flames. That is what we get. That is what the men are screaming. The castle is a sea of flames. So everyone is trying to run away. We see Brooke and Robin. Brooke and Robin. We see CP0 is on the move now, and we get a glimpse of Mako, Kawamatsu, and Izo. And then we get quick glimpses of basically the monster trio and their fights. So we get a picture with Sanji kicking Queen, who has his snake neck out now. We see Zoro blocking an attack from King, and we see it looks like Luffy blocked an attack, or is preparing an attack against Kaido, who has his mouth open, which seems to probably be a Poro breath. We then cut to Orochi now. Orochi died like 4 times already. I'm guessing there has to be a certain way to kill the Hydra, but saying that Usopp is heading up to meet Kiku and Kinemon, maybe he'll run into him and we'll have the fight between Orochi and Usopp that everyone wants to see. Where essentially he's laughing like hysterically and saying, you know, he's going to blow up everything because there's the armory down below. The same thing that Yamato is going for. He wants the ghost to go there and blow up the island. And he's asking, where's Fukuro? Could you come here? Let's get out of here. Because this pirate war, this whole thing going on with Kaido and the Emperors, that's none of our business. Let's just get out of here and leave them to explode. We then see Yamato running towards the area to stop the bombs, of course, the weapons. And while she's running up the stairs and running to there, we hear Big Mom scream out, Ikoku Sovereignty! And she fires off her attack, and it seems like it hit Kid's big robot. So we see the robot fly through the wall. And when it flies through the wall, we see it break apart and crash, or it's crashing towards the ground. And while doing that, she's like, ha ha ha, mama. Let's start with the first one then. Kid, you're mine. And she's going in to attack Kid. And at the same time, we get a mini flashback to maybe a few minutes ago. And it's a conversation between Law and Kid. And this leads to Kid asking Law. He says, Law, have your powers awakened? And basically, Law says, well, I'm still not used to it, but essentially, yes, I'll use it on my dying legs, my last legs, because it uses up all of my stamina. And it is extremely difficult. But if I use it, I would probably lose the battle because of that. So it's like a last resort kind of thing. And Kid says, well, the same goes for me. But we're not getting anywhere with this fight just with our normal attacks. So use your last resort to back me up. So while Kid is falling, we cut back to present now. We see Law above Big Mom, and he uses a new move called Kroom. I don't know if it's supposed to be K-Room or Kroom, but he uses Kroom and creates a mini room-like ball in his hand, and he puts it on his sword and says anesthesia. And he proceeds to jump off the ledge where Big Mom just flew out of and stabs her through the chin, the neck. Kinda hard to identify that part of Big Mom, but through here, this area here. And he says the penetration does nothing on its own. However, Kroom creates inner shock waves, and he uses the attack Shock Wheel. Wheel. I think that's another word for waves in a different language. But we see Big Mom start to cough up blood, and it looks like smoke is coming out of her mouth. And everyone is shocked that she's bleeding. Included, well, I guess everyone would be the homies, because they're like, Mama, you're bleeding. So the whole mama part means it's a homie. So they're shocked she's bleeding, and she's like, oh, you've really done it. No, you little brats, I'm going to kill you. But before she could attack, Kid does something interesting. He uses a sign, and he basically, it seems like, assigns his power or magnetism to Big Mom. So Napoleon gets stuck there, and he's like, wait a minute, what's going on? And Big Mom is like, did I turn into a magnet? And we see everyone's metal things start flying towards her. All the steel beams from the building, everything metal in the area just flying towards her. So it's kind of making like a coffin of metal to encase her in. And Law is there, and Kid is like, Law, get me out of here. And of course Law is like, don't tell me what to do, but okay, room. And two of them get out of the way, and the name of the attack seems to be Punk Clash. You see Big Mom covered by all the metal, and the chapter ends there. So pretty interesting chapter. The other chapter should be on the 7th, so I don't know if you have any briefs, but again, I dislike the fact that we keep keeping people alive. Kinemon was supposed to be dead. Kiku was supposed to be dead. Kanjuro was supposed to be dead. like 3 times now. Orochi is supposed to be dead, but he has the kinda Hydra-esque Orochi fruit, so we expected his heads to grow back. However, the other 2 with the scabbards or 3 with the scabbards kinda suck because it's taking away the impact of everything. But aside from that, that is the only part of the chapter I really disliked. But other than that, the other parts of the chapter was really good. I'm interested to see what Drake and Appoos do to find out who these 3 numbers are, especially the menacing one with the mustache. As well as I'm interested to see what other moves Kid and Law are going to do to try to take out Big Mom, and if they will actually take her out and she will fall. But yeah, all in all, good chapter, except for that Kinemon part. That part I'll give like a 3 out of 10. But the rest of the chapter overall I would give like 8 out of 10. So yeah, great chapter, and I hope to see you all in the next review next week. Bye.